My name's Karen Edwards and I'm a storyteller. The story I'm going to tell you is called The Children of Wind, and it comes from Senegal on the west coast of Africa. Have you ever wondered what happens to the wind when the world is calm? Well, the truth is that is when the wind is asleep. But in order to sleep in peace, the wind takes on different disguises. Sometimes he takes the form of a great fallen tree in the jungle. On other occasions, he becomes a gently undulating grassy plain. And sometimes he takes the form of a handsome African prince. One day, as Wind lay happily drowsing underneath the spreading branches of a baobab tree, a young woman named Anamata was passing by, going to fetch water from the water hole. As she dipped her bucket into the hole, she hummed contentedly to herself, not even noticing the slumbering prince. But when she turned to return to the village, what was that noise? Was it a sleeping hippopotamus? But no, when Anamata looked, a much more attractive prospect lay on the ground. The handsome prince had his chest adorned with necklaces of animals' teeth, and on his loins he wore a tiger skin. Anamata looked in wonder at his beauty. She set down her bucket so that she could better concentrate, and then she noticed that his brow was besmirched with grime and dust and sweat. And so she plucked a handful of grass and dipped it into the bucket and cleaned the dirt and grime from his brow and his cheeks. Anamata sat by Wind all day. Meanwhile, down on the river, old Abege the fisherman toiled with his nets. He and Wind were close friends, so close that Abege had a nickname for Wind. Frish, frish, he would call, and Wind would come and fill the sails of Abege's dhow and ease his passage back to land. But today, no matter how hard the old ancient fisherman called, Wind did not come, and Abege was forced to paddle strenuously to get back to the water's edge. Then he lifted his nets and his poles and struggled up the path past Anamata and Wind, not even noticing them, but all the time muttering to himself, Wind must have become old and deaf like myself. Wind slumbered for several days, and Anamata would return each day to brush the dirt and grime from his brow and his cheeks, until one morning Wind opened his eyes and stared into her face. What is your name? I am Anamata from the village of Maka. I have so long dreamed of meeting someone like you. Wind too felt himself strangely drawn to the girl in a way that he had never felt drawn to anyone before. I feel myself bonded to you with love, but I am a wanderer. I cannot stay with you all the time. I have duties and obligations to perform all over the world, and I can only come and go from time to time. Anamata was so deeply in love with Wind that she was happy at this prospect, and she brought him home to meet her family. When they heard that the couple were betrothed, feasting and dancing took place in the village. But after darkness, Wind left and returned the next day with presents for everyone. The wedding celebration went ahead, and the whole village joined in the union of the happy couple Anamata and Wind. Wind stayed with Anamata until the next new moon, but then he departed. She didn't understand why he had to go, but she was happy to let him have his freedom. Always he kept his true identity a secret from her. Over the course of time, 3 children were born to Anamata and Wind. Mamata Marta, the eldest, was a boy. Next came a beautiful girl called Benetu, and third, a second son, Alama. Wind would return from time to time to enthrall his children with stories of dragons and medicine men and lions and the faraway places that he had visited. But when the 3rd child was about to be born, Wind did not come. Anamata lay in grievous pain on her bed, suffering considerably. And she used the pet name that Abegi called Wind. Frish, Frish, please come to me, where are you? But Wind did not come. It was the time between the rains, when the world was dry, the plain was dry, the water holes were a cake of mud. Still, Wind did not come. Finally, the child was born. Anamata knew that she would not survive, and she cradled him desperately to her breast and looked down into his cold black eyes, pouring out all the suffering she had borne. This opened and tenderized the heart of the young one to the suffering of others. Meanwhile, down on the river, Abegi looked up and saw a beautiful white seagull circling in the sky. It plummeted down, landed outside the hut of Anamata. Afterwards, he swore that he saw that seagull standing on one leg beside Anamata's bed. When she whispered in her dying breath, "Frish, farewell, I will always love you." It's said that Wind, wanting to be back with Anamata as quickly as possible, had changed into the form of a seagull, and afterwards that he soared up into the air and uttered a piercing shriek of grief. Alama grew up sturdy, but kind and gentle, although he was always a loner. He knew how to comfort the sick. He knew which flowers from Beneto's garden would heal them and which ones would quieten the soul. To Mamata Marta, Wind gave the brooks and rivers, the streams and lakes, and he was called River Wind. To Beneto, he gave the fields and forests and flowers, and she was called Flower Wind. Alama, the wind of mercy, rocks and comforts. He lulls the sadness of the world. Do not fail to hear him when he seeks you to help him by joining in the soothing song for the sick and the poor.